Welcome back to another episode of The Last Zebra. I'm your host, Ugo Ezema, and today we have Dr. Ramsy Abdelghani, very special guest. Thank you so much for having
of course.
having the time to come spend with us.
Thanks for having me, man. This is a cool place you got here.
Thank you. As always, please don't forget to like, subscribe, engage, comment, all the things. It helps to grow the channel and helps us, keep doing what we do here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how you doing, man?
Dude, things are good.
Welcome back to the show. Welcome back. I was going to say welcome back to the show. I'm so used to seeing you because I just saw you 2 days ago.
That's right.
Yeah, man. So I think the most recent thing for you is the baby.
Yeah. I got a new baby girl.
Yeah.
She's almost 3 weeks and change old. We're trying our best to stay awake and
Full-on girl dad.
Full-on girl dad, dude. 2 for 2.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Yeah.
What do you do? Where are we at?
Yeah, so I'm originally Middle Eastern genetically, but I'm born and raised in New Orleans. So I'm pretty much full-on New Orleanian, I think. I was born and raised here. I was actually born at Tulane, and I always joke that I would die at Tulane, but I guess that's no longer possible since got eaten up. Yeah. There was a resident 3 or 4 months ago. I made that joke, and he's like, "You still might." I was like, "Bro, that's not nice. Wishing. It's terrible.
It's still a possibility." Who is his resident?
But no, he was an anesthesia resident. But I made it out alive, so I'm good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So I am a interventional pulmonologist, which means I do a lot of bronchoscopic stuff, and that's kind of my passion. What I've been doing, and been doing that for a couple of years now. So,
has it always been something you wanted to do? And when did you become aware of it? So I suppose that's the first question. When did you become aware of interventional pulmonology, and when did it become a passion?
Yeah, that's the thing. I didn't know much about it like most people. It's kind of a newer field, I guess, a newer subspecialty that has its own boards and fellowships. Before, it was just people kind of doing what they do and trying their best. But I think initially I gravitated toward the ICU just like everybody else does, right? I mean, as a resident, it was so exciting. The attendings I had were so clever, and they were so good and calm in exciting situations, and they were kind of the leaders and the people you looked up to in those kind of situations. And I've loved the ICU. I loved pulmonary. I loved all of it. We didn't have any fellows in our residency program. I did my residency in Baton Rouge General, a couple of miles away.
The General.
Oh, it was so good, dude. I loved it. And we didn't have any fellows, so I got to do as much as I wanted to do, which was good for me, but bad for the people who didn't like ICU, I guess, because you'd be alone doing a 28-hour call or whatever. You get a rapid response or a code blue. You get to go. You get to manage the code blue, which was always a great learning experience. You get to intubate the patient, line them up, bring them back to the unit, stabilize them, put them on the vent, figure everything else out, right? You and the RTs and the nurses, just learning everything and having a great experience. And helping the patient as best you can. The next morning, the attending comes and they give you that great feedback, and you just learn so much, And having that experience at night was just something I really enjoyed. And then I found out that bronchoscopy existed, first of all, and that was awesome. It was very interesting to see that, I had an interest in GI, but it wasn't so much of an interest. I really gravitated toward the procedural aspect of pulmonology and critical care. I really love the procedures, as I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I found out that, my attendings would do these bronchoscopies, and it got to the point where I loved it. Like, they would let me do it with them because, again, no fellows, and they'd love to teach. So it was almost kind of masochistic, but I would, when I was on the floors and the wards, I was the upper level, I would come in an hour or two early. I'd round on my patients, see the interns' patients, make sure I had the plan for everyone, and then sneak away around 8 o'clock and do a bronch with one of the attendings, then come back and do rounds and stuff. And that really kind of gave me my first taste of this kind of life, and I was like, this is amazing. So I went full force into Pulm Crit, was fortunate to match it at Tulane where you matched as well.
Yeah, that's how we met.
That's right, absolutely. Yeah. And did that thing for a while and found the good Dr. Kerr, who was an interventional pulmonologist, and he really kind of mentored me, took me under his wing, and he kind of taught me what interventional pulmonology was. It wasn't just EBUS, it wasn't just navigational bronchoscopy, that you could do a huge array of minimally invasive things to patients who normally aren't surgical candidates, and still give them symptomatic benefit and still help them, all while being a major player in the lung cancer space. And I really have a big passion for lung cancer. So that was just so nice to see that I could do so many extra things that I didn't know I could do. When I found out that was a fellowship, like an additional fellowship, that's kind of really all I wanted to do. So I did some research, Dr. Kerr, thankfully matched in interventional pulmonology and came back here. And I'm currently the director of interventional pulmonology at Tulane. That was a joke. I direct myself. And morale is pretty good, though, so it's not terrible. But it's just a one-man team.
End of one. Yeah. Those are the best teams.
Yeah, absolutely. My partner, Dr. Beck, now is the director at the VA. So we kind of we always joke we have directors meetings when we talk and chat with each other. But yeah, I've been doing that for a couple of years now. I think I'm on my 3rd or 4th year, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much now close to 100% IP. I don't do anything else. And it's exactly what I want to do.
Well, it's interesting because I think the shift from loving procedures, a lot of what draws people to the ICU is that action that you get. It's curious to me that, for you, at least from what I'm hearing, is, you had a passion for the ICU. Pulmonary somehow, all like as it always is, gets bundled into ICU.
Yep.
And how did you transition from that passion for the ICU to strictly procedures? So it obviously the passion for procedures, being a procedurist, being an interventionalist, now supersedes the ICU, I imagine.
Yeah, I still enjoy the ICU. Yeah. And if I could, I would like some sort of balance. But what I found ended up happening is when I'd be on the ICU, I couldn't turn off the IP mindset, where I'd be getting, outside hospital referrals, and I would do the ICU, then peel away, do a 2-hour bronchoscopy or something, then come back and have to re-round in the ICU. And I felt that I wasn't able to give the ICU my full undivided attention.
That's fair.
And what it deserved. And I felt like I wasn't teaching the residents as much because I'd go there, round very quickly, go do a bronch and come back. And it's not safe, I felt, you know?
Right.
So that's when I talked to our chief, and I told him, listen, I don't think I can do both at a high level. So since I didn't have a lot of extra help in the interventional pulmonary space, we kind of decided I would do more IP till we hire more people, and then I could maybe scale back into the ICU if I found that was, that it fit. I still love procedures. I still love the ICU. It's just the draw of the newer technology and this kind of like being a super subspecialist or whatever is just really interesting.
Right.
And I find that so cool. There's so many things that haven't been discovered yet that I can be part of, new trials, new research. Like I'm not a big research guy, but I like doing IP research, So that's what, you wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, cool. I have a cool rigid case today. I have a cool stent case today. I get to debulk. I get to talk to the radiation oncologist, onto the medical oncologist about what I did, my biopsies. I got a small nodule, that kind of stuff. Every single part of it pretty much excites me.
Right,
and it still does. So that's why I still think I made the right choice,
Yeah. That's awesome. And certainly following and executing your passion is definitely something that I think everyone should have the opportunity to do so.
No, absolutely.
Let's dial back a little bit. How did you get to medicine? Are you from a family of physicians, a family of doctors?
I think myself and my brother are the first two physicians in our family. Not the first two educated, but the first two physicians for sure.
Really? How did you both, older brother?
Younger brother.
Sammy's younger than you?
He's younger than me. Yeah. By like a year, by 2 years.
I did not know that.
He's a little taller than I am, so.
And the reason I'm so surprised is because I met Sammy before I met you, right?
Correct.
So I met Sammy in my residency. He was a cardiology fellow at the time. Yeah. I did not know that. Okay, cool. So not to speak for him, but how did y'all fall into medicine?
Yeah, I can't speak for my brother as much, but I think for myself, my father wanted kind of both of us to do engineering, actually. It wasn't like the traditional Middle Eastern dad where he goes doctor or nothing. He was like, I want you to do engineering, medicine, all these kind of things, like you study too long, etc. And I did a little bit of
very practical.
He was
man.
super smart about it, honestly. Yeah, he was like, listen, you get good money, you're very clever, you change lives. And he actually pushed me to trying biomedical engineering. I kind of I liked medicine, I liked sciences, I didn't like art as much. My mind didn't really meld with that as much. But he was like, why don't you try biomedical engineering? And then actually I tried a year of biomedical engineering. I liked the medicine aspect of things, but didn't really love calculus, didn't love all
and this is in college?
This is in college,
right.
Correct, yeah. So the same
Where was
time,
college?
At Tulane. So I did a year of college at Tulane. And then I thought about doing, I was like, well, I kind of want to do medicine. And, should I just continue this? And you can still do, med school from biomedical engineering. And that's actually what my brother did. He finished the whole biomedical engineering degree and then did medicine through that. And I was like, well, listen, I want to travel and I kind of want to do other things and learn languages and all these kind of things. So I talked to my father about it, and him having connections, although he was a public health professor and still is at Tulane. So he had, had a lot of connections around the world. And he goes, why don't you, travel the world and do medicine or whatever you'd like to do. And I thought maybe I could do Doctors Without Borders or things like that. These kind of things were playing in my head for a bit,
Right.
So he was saying, instead of having a ton of debt, why don't you go do medical school abroad? So I initially kind of looked at different medical schools around the world, and I found a medical school in Turkey that people spoke highly of, essentially, and it was was one of the better schools in the world, supposedly. And also one in Jordan that I liked as well. So I took the entrance exams to both, and I was fortunate to get into both. I deferred the one in Jordan for a year and tried the one in Turkey just because it was new. I'd never been to Turkey before.
Right.
I went and visited, and I really enjoyed the culture. It was very European, but also a little Middle Eastern as well.
Right.
So I stayed in Turkey for a bit. As I kind of did, everything was in Turkish. It wasn't as much in English as I expected. So it was more challenging than I expected. I did okay, but it wasn't really a good fit for me.
Okay.
Started getting a little homesick and things like that. So I had that acceptance to the one in the middle in Jordan for a while. So I went back to that, and I finished that. I went straight through that, and then when I graduated there, the thought of Doctors Without Borders was still there, but I met my future wife, and I started getting pretty homesick. It was surprising to me. I was like, oh man, I miss being back in America. I miss my family. I miss it's interesting. I eventually learned, I used to be fluent in Turkish. I'm fairly fluent in Arabic. But no matter how, I have a lot of respect for these people who come from across different countries and come and live and do high level things in America in a second language.
Right.
Because no matter how good I got in another language, I was never as good as I want it to be.
Right.
You can't joke as well. You don't have the culture as well. You don't have the pop culture.
Right.
These things that you find that come so naturally, me and you, becomes very challenging, I feel.
Right. That goes beyond the language. It's the meta language, if you will.
Yeah.
The way you move. It made me think of, have you ever seen the movie Inglourious Bastards?
Yeah, absolutely.
You remember how they got,
that's right.
the 3 versus the, however they did it.
Yeah.
So simple things like that. It's really, I can definitely understand how that could be very challenging.
Yeah, and you're never as witty as you want to be. You can't be as clever as you want to be. You can't be as kind as you want to be.
Which you are.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. But even the idioms and things, sayings, I learned a lot of them there, but it's still very challenging to do. And so at that point, I kind of, I was in Jordan. I met my wife, and I was like, I want to come back. She, didn't really have a, real strong, interest in coming to America. But we came together, and obviously she's doing fine here and everything. But it was interesting. The way as I got older, I found out what's more important to me. And it's not just running around the world learning languages, because I love learning languages, and it'd been really cool. Like a dream would have been if I could have if there was some sort of thing like a world medical license where you can apply, you get it, and you can just go to a country and just give back and just give good medical care while learning the language and hanging out and existing. And then in a couple of years, you're bored, you skip to another country and do the same thing there, learn the language and that kind of stuff.
That would
obviously
be awesome.
Doesn't really exist, but it would have been really cool to do.
Right.
So anyway, eventually I came back here, and as we talked about, did residency and fellowship and IP fellowship and stuff. But it was interesting.
Nice. Yeah, there's so much to unpack there. The languages. How many languages do you speak?
I mean, obviously English is pretty my first language, but I was fluent in Turkish for a while, because they don't really speak English there very well. So I had to kind of sink or swim. I would remember I'd sit there every night and learn. My goal was to learn 50 new words a night. And I had a roommate who was Turkish and didn't really know English. So it was a great opportunity to talk with each other.
And that's the best way to learn, immersion.
It's the only way to learn, I feel. And I got really good at it. My trick is a good test of how well you know a language is hop in a cab and talk to the guy. And depending how long he takes to ask you where you're from is how good you're doing. You know what I mean?
I like that.
If you're sitting there for 10 seconds, he's like, hey man, where are you from? And you're like, crap. But if you sit there for a couple of minutes, he's like, wait a second. He said something wrong, or the saying you said was incorrect, or he said some kind of Turkish history and you didn't get it. And he's like, where are you from? So it was kind of nice to kind of just, blend in and kind of adopt a culture and a language in that scenario. So it's Turkish and Arabic as well. So I guess 3, but my Turkish isn't very good anymore. I don't really speak much anymore, unfortunately.
What was Jordan like?
It was great. Most of my family's from Jordan. So it was a nice, loving environment. I had a lot of family there, so I could go and have a home-cooked meal. I could also, live in my apartment with my friends and my roommates and have some independence. I enjoyed it, Again, is it for me? I'm because I'm born and raised here, it just felt not like home. Even though it is
it's very much home, but not like home.
Exactly. Yeah.
What was your favorite part, like between Turkey and, of course, Turkey, having explored the challenges of that, between Turkey and Jordan? So that was the breadth of your medical school education.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of that entire process?
I guess it was just being able to. So I had friends in college, and I left after a little bit in college, and they kept going, of course, and they all did junior year abroad. So I get to visit them in London, and I went to Hungary with my friend. I went to Italy to see my other friends, just a hop, skip, and a jump away. It was like $100 plane ticket because it's right there.
Yeah.
So that was really fun to be able to see all these other countries and do other things, and plus just kind of. I guess you kind of rough it a little bit. I was able, I love walking. I love learning the landscape, so to speak. I didn't have a car or anything there, obviously.
Right.
So I was able to just walk around and have just a good time, just experiencing another country. Really, not just like a 10-day touristy kind of thing. I got to really meet the people and really see what they're like. And that was just, both countries was very, very refreshing.
Right. It sounds like you like to travel. Do you still get to travel quite a bit?
Not as much as I'd like. Now with kids and stuff, it becomes a little bit of a challenge. My wife's also a physician, so you know how it is. Coordinating vacations and that kind of stuff is tough. Oh, yeah. I don't get to travel as much as I'd like to. But I went to last year I went to Portugal for a friend's wedding, which was really fun. And the year before that, I went to Italy for another friend's wedding, which is great.
Nice. So you moved back here, so that must have been for residency to Baton Rouge.
So a year before that, I actually did research with one of the endocrine surgeons at Tulane. Because when you're an FMG or a foreign medical graduate, you have that almost like a gap 9 months because you can't apply until you have your license or your diploma.
Yep.
So because of that, I did research with him, which was a great experience too. It was not in a field I was super interested in, endocrine surgery.
I was about to say.
Yeah, but he was very, he was a good mentor, and he understood that I wanted to do internal medicine, but he still helped me kind of, get better at research and develop an interest in research.
Right. So going into residency, going into internal medicine, did you have a preconceived notion of what you wanted to do post-residency?
Yeah, so in medical school in Jordan, our last year of medical school, we could do 2 electives, and I picked to do them actually in New Orleans because I'm from here, obviously. So I came back and I did a month of nephrology and a month of pulmonary. And guess who was my pulmonary attending? It was at Tulane. It was Simeone.
You lie.
I swear to God. Yeah.
Good legend.
It was amazing because he was my pulmonary attending. So the whole month I got to hang out with him basically. And it was
what an experience that.
Oh, it was so good because he's so smart, right?
Yeah.
And we had a couple of cool CF patient cases and stuff like that I remember so vividly. But it was really funny because I think my second year of fellowship, because after I left, when I went to residency, I think he had left for a couple of years, and he would come to chest conference every now and then. So maybe my second year of fellowship, he came to chest conference. He's just sitting there looking at me. And I'm like, whatever. Like I knew him, of course. There's no way he remembers me. I was there for a month, 5 or 6 years ago or whatever. And he's like, "Were you a medical student with me?" And I was like, "Yes, sir, I was." And he goes, "I remember you saying you wanted to do pulmonary and critical care, but I thought you were just saying that because everyone tells you that because you want a letter recommendation." He's like, "I remember I wrote you a good letter." And I was like, "I hope you did." Yeah, thank you.
That's impressive. I'm not surprised at all that he would. I mean, he's quite possibly one of the most brilliant.
Oh, he's so smart.
Pulm intensivists that I know.
Yeah, he was a nephrologist in Italy, I believe.
Yeah, he was.
He's so cool.
He is so cool. He has such an interest. He lives on a boat now. I need to talk to him.
No, absolutely. He's got probably a great story to tell.
I know he has. I bet you. And he does like swerve into these really cool stories when you get to hang out with him and talk with him. Shout out to Dr. Simeone.
That's right. Francesco Simeone.
And Tulane has such a wide, diverse group of really, really cool attendings. I came to Tulane from Chabert, Leonard J. Chabert. Chabert being a community hospital, Tulane being the quintessential, big school, big hospital, big residency program, and truly to the name, it was really, really like a great experience. I'm forever thankful. So we met. You were my third year.
Yeah, that's right.
When I was a first year.
Yeah.
First year fellow.
And then I think we crossed paths again when I came back from my first year as an IP attendant. You were a third year, I believe.
I was a third year, because you were gone for a year and then you came back.
True.
So by the time you came back, I was now a third year and you were my attending. That was really cool. That is really cool. So now that you're you've been out of training now for 3 years, going on 4 years. What I'm still learning so much about how I practice. I'm still learning so much. I will make the case that in the first 2 years of being out, so I'm going into my third year now. In the first 2 years, I learned probably more about, the field and than I did in fellowship sometimes. So like there's a steep learning curve with being a fellow, and I think there's a steeper learning curve with being an attending.
No,
how has that been for you?
Well, it's always interesting because at least for me, my standpoint, when I came back, everything I'm doing, at least in my mind, is always high intensity, and I don't want to mess something up because I'm the only person. A lot of times you don't have backup. If I'm debulking a tumor and a patient bleeds, there's no one I can really call to help because I'm kind of by myself in that situation. I call Dr. Becknell, but sometimes he's far away at the VA, So I always like the first maybe 20 or 30 cases, I'd call one of my attendings, my mentors back in Boston, and say, hey, listen, I'm just going to biopsy this. And they're like, of course, that's what everyone would do. And I'm like, okay, just want to make sure that I should biopsy this. Okay, sounds good. And I'd be very conservative. And then I slowly kind of got a little more aggressive. I'm still not like cowboy-ish, I think, because I try to think as best I can. If I was a patient, would I want someone to be so cavalier with what I'm doing, et cetera? A lot of things we can do, but should you, right? So I started out pretty conservative, and then I've kind of just relaxed a little bit as I got more and more experience. But still, I try to be just as cognizant as I can that, I want to do what's best for the patient and not do something crazy if I don't think it's needed, Yeah.
Do you still, I'm sure as you've been practicing and the field of interventional pulmonology, it's changed so much since I was a fellow. Right?
It's crazy.
So, oh my goodness. The advent of robotic bronchoscopy from, I remember when EBUS was the new thing.
Yeah.
And now we're doing so much more.
It's awesome.
What has been the most exciting thing for you?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I want to say robotic bronchoscopy. One, because we all, tried the older technology, and, there's a ceiling as how far you can go and how good you can be. And I'd still have to be like, is this a good navigation case or is this not a good navigation case? And now I feel I don't need to send to anybody else. I can do any nodule that I think I want to biopsy, I can biopsy it. And not just that, it's not something that has to be gate kept with interventional pulmonology. And with the advent of robotic bronchoscopy, it's become more ubiquitous, right? It's a lot, the skill ceiling I think is lower, or I guess the learning curve is lower. So it's better for everyone because there's no way I can biopsy everything in Louisiana, right? We need people to biopsy these things and kind of, and grow their own practices. So I think the fact that they made this easier and they made the ability to treat lung cancer and diagnose it early better has been incredible.
And for the casual viewer, so mom, dad, cousins, all the friends that are watching. Mom is medical, so she knows. But for our casual, non-medical and non-pulmonary viewer and or listener, what is robotic bronchoscopy?
Yeah, that's a good point. So we should take it back a little bit and do more. Yeah, so essentially when you have a spot on your lung, this could be one of many things, right? It could be an infection, it could be inflammation, or God forbid, it could be cancer. And our job, my job and your job, is to make sure this isn't cancer and work our way backwards. Now, depending on our clinical suspicion, we may watch a nodule to see if it grows. We may watch a nodule to see if it goes away, or we may go ahead and biopsy a nodule to see if it's cancer, if our suspicion is high. Robotic bronchoscopy lets us go in to the airways, navigate to a specific nodule, get to that nodule and take a small microscopic samples, send that to the lab and see what it is, infection, inflammation, or cancer. Now, the way I think about it is I'm a simple guy. I like things simple. Think like a big old oak tree, right? You got a big old trunk and you got a bunch of branches and a bunch of leaves. And my job is to get from the trunk of the tree down to a specific leaf, right? And as you get out from the branches, each branch is smaller and smaller than the branch before it. And there's multiple bifurcations and divisions of those branches. So you can make a wrong turn pretty easily. With the robot and most navigational bronchoscopies, they give you almost like a lung GPS. Turn left here, turn right here, go up, go down until you get to where you think or it thinks the nodule is. Once you're there, you take some biopsies in a minimally invasive way, meaning it's scarless. There's no significant recovery. You go home the same day. You're back to work the next day. And in a couple of days, we get an answer. Back in the day, they had to chop you open to get that off, get that same answer, right?
Right.
So I love the fact that we can do things in a more minimally invasive way and not have to expose the patient to further risk to get the same answer.
Right.
You know?
That's awesome. Where do you see the future of IP? And that could be as recent or as quickly as 6 months to, 5 years. What's coming up next?
Yeah, I'm hoping that as now we're getting better and better at biopsying these nodules, I think we're hitting our the best we can be right now with biopsy and diagnostic yield. But I hope in the future we find a good way to ablate these nodules. For example, like there's some technologies coming out down the pipeline where you go in, once you get to that nodule, you biopsy it, you have the pathologist at bedside. He says, yes, this is cancerous.
You get rid of it.
Yeah, exactly. You put your device in, you zap it, nuke it, freeze it, vaporize it, whatever technology it is, it goes away. It's a one-stop shop, right? You've diagnosed them, you staged them, and you've at least treated their cancer in 1-2 hour session.
Right.
Which I think is what we all want to do, right? Diagnose it, send to someone very quickly as soon as possible.
I got introduced to a term, single anesthesia event, and that has really been sticking out to me in terms of, especially in lung cancer care, which obviously I'm a pulmonologist, so that's where my focus is. But the idea of being really efficient about each anesthesia event. So getting the patient under for a singular procedure or getting as much as you can in a efficient and practical way. So I love the idea of having, doing the biopsy, possibly staging and or treatment all under the same anesthesia event.
Yep.
I think that's a really, really cool. I'm excited for that. And of course, with robotic bronchoscopy, navigating to those nodules is going to be a lot easier.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about you, right? And we talk about IP. So what are some of your interests outside of IP?
Yeah. I mean, I do like IP. It's unfortunate to talk about a lot, but I've been playing guitar for maybe 10 or 15 years. It sounds like a lot, but when you see me play, it's not. I don't play like someone who's been playing for 15 years. I like to dabble. I have an acoustic guitar that I like to play and just like sing along to. I have a keyboard that I can't play, and I have a drum set that I mess around with. I have a little ukulele as well.
Yeah, a ukulele.
I have a ukulele, yeah. Just a little one. And it's actually my daughter uses it now. She kind of just messes with it. Like it's her own guitar when we play guitar together. Nice. Yeah, so that's fun. I like to cook as well. I recently bought a like one of those like ceramic Kamado eggs.
Oh yeah,
like the big green eggs.
Big green eggs.
Yeah. And I've been smoking stuff and cooking stuff, and that's really fun.
Wait, was it you that sent me a picture?
Probably.
I
like to brag about it. Yeah, probably.
It must have been when you first bought it. The
probably,
big green
so.
egg. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like super fun. So I find that like just fun. It gets me out of the house for 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm sure it was. That sounds like something I would do. But this brisket I made or something. Yeah,
that's exactly what it was. It was a brisket. And I was like, whoa. What do you think about the big green egg? I want to get one.
So I have a Kamado Joe, but it's the exact same thing.
Okay,
it's just I think a cheaper version or something like that.
Okay.
But it's so fun. And like I like the process, if that makes sense.
Because smoking takes time.
It takes time.
But
it's like a whole day. And like now with kids and stuff, I can't go out as much as I need to and things like that. So this gets me out of the house and I can cook food for my family. So it's like a 2-for-1 kind of thing.
That's an interesting dichotomy from your work person, which is action, procedure, and then I'm also a smoker.
Well, I mean, I like doing stuff with my hands, I guess, if that makes sense. I kind of want to keep busy. So this helps me do something. It's not just like putting something in the microwave. I get to do like a 30-step process or whatever you want to do. I dry brine it the 2 days before, different rubs, different things like that. Then I get to put it on the smoker, try to manage the temperature, that kind of stuff. So it gets me busy for a whole day. It kind of eats up some time and gives me something to look forward to. And then however good I get to be, I can have bragging rights, send to my friends and things like that and see how it tastes, right?
That's awesome. Is cooking, does that run in the family as well?
Yeah, so my dad's actually a really good cook. My mom's also an incredible cook. And my brother also cooks. We always kind of like to do these kind of things. We'll trade recipes or be like, oh, look at this, interesting thing I found. I'm going to try it or things like that, But since I got the smoker, it's kind of been my main thing I've been trying. Like, oh, I'm going to try this kind of meat. I did a prime rib for Christmas, like on a rotisserie style. I did a rotisserie turkey in my smoker. Yeah, it was kind of cool. It came out really good.
I believe it.
It was good, man.
what you need to do is start sending me some more pictures, and then perhaps sending me an invite before you send me.
Well, so the problem is it's hard to get consistent and good. I want to invite you over and be like, hey man, I spent 13 hours on this. It's not great. There's not much of a backup, and that's my worry. I want to get good at it.
I'm sure it will come out fine. If the brisket looked as good as it tastes,
dude,
or it tastes as good as it looks,
got it.
Trust me, I think I'll be fine. I think I'll be fine. Any other non-medical hobbies?
I used to like to work out a lot. Doesn't show at all, but I used to, like back in med school, I went to the gym pretty hard. And it was just something fun to do. Doing something with my hands to something outside. And I'm trying to pick up, as you know, a little bit of golf. I'm not good at it yet. My brother is pretty good. I know you're pretty good, and a few of our friends. You're not good?
Who told you that?
I don't know. I thought you were good.
I am not. You know how you feel about guitar?
Yeah.
And to be fair, I haven't been playing golf for a very long time. I started playing golf through my father-in-law.
Yeah.
He plays golf, and then one of my best friends from residency, Hardik should be on this podcast soon. But Hardik plays golf as well. So through the two of them, I started dabbling in golf. And every time I play with them, they're always like, They don't say it, but
you feel it, right?
Yeah, I feel them judging.
You're lagging behind.
I know they're judging my stroke. They give you the kind of advice that really good golfers give bad golfers, like, hey, maybe we'll play best ball. We'll play best ball on the next hole. And then more recently, another real good friend of mine, James Brown, JB, he plays quite often as well. So through him and some of our mutual friends, I dabble in golf. I try to play once a month. I haven't been as good as I'd like, but I'm not good. I don't know who told you that. I am not good.
Man.
I'm on the golf course for one primary reason, and that is to like hang out with my boys.
And that's the fun thing. Gets you outside. You can do, again, doing something with your hands is a whole goal for me. Just doing something that's not just sitting in front of a couch, basically. Which I like doing, but I just get stir crazy sometimes. I just want to get up and do something.
Yeah, absolutely. Fatherhood.
Yeah, man.
How has that been?
It's been awesome. Like honestly, it's amazing. I'm so happy it happened. I guess if that makes sense. I was obviously very nervous, and you never feel like you're ready.
Right.
But like my oldest girl, she's like 2.5. She's the best. I think right before I came here, I was watching Curious George with her or something like that, and she was dancing about something, and it was just awesome just watching her. It's great.
It's the simple things.
Dude, legit.
What was that transition like for you? Like from obviously not being a dad to being a dad.
Yeah, I'm again those kind of people who always kind of be doing something. Can't sit still, as you know me. So having to be able to sit still for a while and go at the pace of a small little person was a little challenging to get through. But now I'm starting to get better at like taking my time and enjoying just her being there, which is really nice. Like we were in the park or something, and I was just like swinging her for God knows how long, just swinging her back and forth, and she was just saying stuff, and it was just great to like watch her say stuff, because now she's starting to have a little personality and like say full sentences, and it's just great,
Who does she take after more, you or?
I think maybe me a little more. I think this one is me, and the new one is my wife.
Yeah.
She's very headstrong and very like, when she's committed to something, she does it, which I like, but also she's a little stubborn like me. So
I think kids are very interesting to me. I was watching Trevor Noah's podcast, What Now? The very first one was with The Rock.
Oh, nice.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He has 3 daughters.
Oof.
And he was talking about how his relationship with his dad is very different from his relationship with his children, with his kids. And what I got from it is that a lot of the best parts of him, he does attribute to his father, but there's a lot that he had to a lot of what he does for his kids is stuff he didn't get from his dad.
I see.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So his dad had a really rough upbringing. So the way he transferred or manifested his love was a very different kind of way. It was the typical kind of man. And it's curious to see The Rock, because in videos, if you see him with his daughters, with his kids, the man is a teddy bear, right?
Yeah.
So the people's champ becomes a teddy bear in front of his kids, and he's wearing tutus, and he's doing his nails, and they're painting his face, And he makes a really good point that that gentleness, essentially that softness, that gentleness is something that he wanted as a kid. He didn't know.
Give it to his kids.
Yeah. So he's very purposeful about giving that and providing that for his kids. How do you feel your parenting style is different from, say, your parents, or how have in the short time now, in the 2.5 years, how has being a dad for you been different from how you felt your dad was?
I think I'm more patient than I thought I would be. You know, I feel like I'm not very patient with some people in my life sometimes, or even some of the fellows or things like that when I'm doing stuff with them or people I interact with. But with her, I'm much more patient. Maybe because I understand she's 2 and I can't expect too much out of her. And I feel like maybe my parents weren't so patient with me. They've been great. My mom's a great mom. My dad's a great dad. They gave me everything, honestly. But that's one of the things I feel like I'm trying to get better at. And maybe talking more to her and being more interactive with her, which was nice, you know?
Definitely one of my biggest challenges right now is, as my daughter is 4, and talking about personalities, right? So it's every day she does something, I'm just like, wait, when was she able to do that? Like, when did that happen?
Yeah.
You know, and like she talks about, I tell my wife all the time, she's just, my daughter is literally just sass and flesh and sass. All I get is sass from her.
It's 80% sass.
80% sass. But it's so funny to me. When I hear her talk, I'm like, what? Who taught you that?
Yeah.
Why are you? She the other day I forgot what happened, but she came into the room and just said, "I'm gonna beat y'all up." I'm like, who are you talking to?
All y'all.
To all y'all. Like, she's from New Orleans.
Yeah, she's throwing threats. Absolutely. Yeah, she can back it up.
New Orleans through and through. Let's start New Orleans. This is home for you.
Yeah.
And you've left a few times, and you always come back.
I do.
Why? What? Is it just because, you know, mom, dad, brother are here? What is it about this?
So obviously that's very important. I think when I was farther away, I found out how important family is. Family's everything. You know, I'd rather be here, you know, maybe not in the perfect scenario, but with family, rather than somewhere else in a better scenario without family.
Wow.
Right? I'm very I love when my brother comes over. He can interact with my kid. I love my dad interacts with my daughter. I think it's the best thing.
Yeah,
you know, I think that's the whole point of existence, I feel. So that was obviously a big point of this. But New Orleans it's just something, it's tough to describe, right? It's kind of things where no one can insult my brother but me, right? Like I'll make fun of New Orleans. It's not the perfect place, you know, of course. But I don't want anyone talking bad about New Orleans, you know?
Yeah, I love this city. Yeah, the way I've always described it is I've actually never felt not at home. I've always felt at home here, even the very first time I came here. So I came here right before Katrina in 2005 for undergrad. And it didn't take long for this to feel like this feels just like home, for better or for worse. And home being either Nigeria or Jamaica. And I think a lot of that is just... Can't believe I'm saying this, but New Orleans feels very third worldy.
You're going to say that, but it's very true. It's very true, though.
It's very third worldy, but in all of the charm, right? Yeah. For better or for worse, but definitely a lot of the better. Like the culture, the people, everything just feels like a part of humanity that still hasn't been lost as we, you know, become a much more westernized or globalized I guess world or race, but I love the city. It's definitely home. The reason I was asking is because I feel the same way, because I came, left for medical school. I went to a Caribbean medical school, and then in that time span, because of the Caribbean medical school, I had to travel all over the States, and every time I came back here, there's a stark difference for me as to why I love it here.
Like my wife, I think when she first came here, I guess she didn't have a good grasp of what America was like. So she came to New Orleans and we hung out for like a while. Then she visited her sister in Cleveland, then went to California, then went somewhere to Houston, I think. And she was like, I didn't realize the whole America wasn't like New Orleans. This is the only place like New Orleans. I was like, it's every city's a little different, you know? And I think that's when she started kind of understanding the culture and the spell the city has on you sometimes. I wanted to ask you mentioned that. I wanted to ask you, so tell me more. You lived, I know you lived in Nigeria, you lived in Jamaica, and obviously you call New Orleans home now. But how did that
transition?
Yeah, like so. How did you bounce back and forth, or how did you progress? I guess.
Yeah. So I born in Nigeria when I was 8. So in August of 1996,
Okay.
we moved to Jamaica.
Cool.
My dad is a pharmacist, and he went to Jamaica in 1995 for a conference. This is how I understand it. So I actually need to verify this with them. But he went to Jamaica in 1995 for a conference, and I think he impressed someone there. And they offered him a job, a professorship.
Oh, jeez, man. He's done a great job.
So, I know. I don't know. I mean, that's a way. That's probably there's probably a really cool story behind that. And so he was there for a year, and then we moved after. I went there in 1996. So we moved to Jamaica in 1996 when I was 8 years old. And from Jamaica to New Orleans, so to Thibodeau, really. Was for college. I came here for college. And in Jamaica, there are multiple programs that you can go to when you're in high school. I went to boarding school, but there are multiple programs you can go to that kind of prepare you for the SATs. And one of them was like a summer program that I did. And what they did was they would kind of ask you what you're interested in, what you're looking for in a school. And in that process, in that summer, they kind of gauge what your personalities are, what really would work best for you. So it was a really cool program. In any case,
is that like a British system where like you pick kind of science or arts, or not so much?
So the Jamaican education system is the English education system. Okay. So yeah, you do kind of like after what you call grade 10 here, you kind of essentially choose which path you're going to go towards. I had already like swerved towards the sciences anyway. So the school prepared for the SATs, did SATs, and based on my scores, and the schools that they felt worked for me. Of course, in talking with my parents as well, they came up with a list of schools that offered me scholarships, and one of them was Nicholls State. Yeah, Nicholls State, Louisiana, the Colonels in Thibodeau.
That's right.
So my mom and I came, and I think they gave me the best scholarship. And the church on campus, St. Thomas Aquinas, we're Catholic, is the same church we go to in Jamaica.
Very cool.
So Providence,
fate, right? Like fate. It's like a sign.
I remember, and I remember my mom when I came here. They were so nice. They gave us a room in one of the apartment complexes on campus. And I think one of the first meals we had was when Domino's had the 555 deal. Do they still have 555 deal? I'm not sure.
I'm sure they got some good deals.
I'm not sure, but one of the first things we had, we bought 3 pizzas, 555 deal. And my mom and I just ate that, and that was so. You ever seen that movie Inside Out?
Yeah.
That's a core memory for me. Like it's one of my fondest memories. Me and my mom eating 555 Domino's pizza.
That's funny.
In an apartment complex on campus in Thibodeau, Louisiana at Nicholls State.
But the way you say it is so vivid, right?
Yeah.
It's just so awesome.
Yeah. So that's how I got here. And ever since then, I've been here. All my brothers came here eventually. We all went to Nicholls at some point. I think the only one that didn't go was my sister. My sister, she went to she went to Hong Kong for high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was all.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and then she went to Massachusetts, Worcester.
Yeah, I got a good buddy who lives in Worcester.
Yeah. So remember when I came visit you? When I came to that conference?
Yeah.
After the conference,
you went to. It's like an hour and a half away or something, right?
So I went to Worcester to hang out with her, and then we went to the Celtics game after.
Oh yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I wanted to ask you, what was that like? What was that year in Boston like?
So let me try to be as diplomatic as possible. So, we're internal medicine guys, okay? If I say this, I'm sort of some surgery guy, some neurosurgery guy is going to call me a pansy. That's my normal intern year.
Yeah.
But for me, it was very challenging as a medicine guy, right? I mean, it was long hours, but it was like probably 14 to 16 hour days every day. You'd get 2 days off a month roughly. But it was honestly, like, it was hard, and I lost weight, and it was stressful.
That's how you got to this.
No, dude, this is me gaining my way back. I was like borderline cachectic.
Oh my goodness.
But it was fun. Like, I don't know, like, I knew it was right for me because every day I was ready to do it. You know what I mean? I was ready to get up at 4:00 in the morning, ready to go, see the patients, around my patients, go to the OR, prep the patients, do all the cases, go home, and do it all over again.
Yeah.
And like, my mentors were super cool because they all, like, in the Northeast, it's a little bit more fast paced, right? Than it is down here. So everyone's sitting there, everyone's churning, everyone's grinding. So you putting in those hours isn't that big of a deal compared to like some other areas where, like more academic areas where your attending can go home at 2 p.m. and you're there till 8 p.m., doing all this kind of work. Right. You guys are there side by side doing stuff, splitting up the work, just kind of getting it, And
that's actually motivating too, right? So it's nice to see that your attending is willing. They're not telling you to do something they wouldn't do themselves.
Exactly. Right. And they still love it too. They're like, a simple chest tube. Like, I know one of my old attendings, so as IP fellows, we do almost all the procedures. So the attending doesn't get to do as much, right? So I was nearing graduation, maybe 1 or 2 months away. And I was like, hey man, what do you want to do right now? And he goes, I just want to do a chest tube. And I'm like, I haven't done a chest tube in because either it's the IP fellow or the pulmonary fellow or a resident. He never gets to do a chest tube. He's like, a simple chest tube is so satisfying. And I was like, there you go. And he's like, thanks, man. And like, I watched my attending do a chest tube and I assisted him. He's like, he was so happy doing it. It's like, you can't, but not feel great when you see someone like just doing something he loves, something simple. It was really cool. And there's one other time where I was bouncing back and forth. My co-fellow was gone doing like job interviews. So there are 2 ORs running simultaneously. Each usually had one, but I was by myself. So I got to pick and choose which cool cases I wanted to do. I went to rigid to rigid to rigid to rigid. And I was like running back and forth between campuses. They're about a 6-minute walk. So maybe like a 2-minute run. I was going back and forth. And I barely made it. And I came back to that same attending. I came back to the OR, his OR, and he's got the rigid. He looks at me and he's like, here. He's like, right here.
He was so excited.
Yeah, he was so happy to do one.
He thought he had it.
I'm like, and he's like, here. And I was like, yeah. I got to do the rigid and I got to do the case and it was great. Yeah. But it was just so funny because he's like, oh, I thought I had it. Exactly right. But it was a good year. I mean, honestly, I look back with fondness and Dr. Kerr says it the best. Fayez Kerr, he goes, it was the worst year of my life. I'll never do it again, but you should do it. That's exactly right. We have an IP fellow right now. Deanna's about to go do it right now in July. So, because she matched there as well, thankfully. So it was very good.
Shout out to Deanna.
Deanna Espinoza. The best.
I actually remember her year group. Wow. I remember her year group because I was leaving when they came in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, it was a good year. Like I'm happy I did it, and it set me up for success and really gave me a lot of good experiences and helped me be a better attending and better at my job.
I think for 1 year it has to kind of be that way, right? So because there's so much technicality to bronchoscopy and different bronchoscopic procedures.
No, absolutely.
Like I think you and I were talking about this at our little our dinner the other day. You have to have the experience. You have to be exposed to so many, just making a simple turn to right upper lobe takes a little more dexterity that you just kind of have to do it to get that feeling. That's awesome. Do you feel that academia is a part of your passion for IP?
Yeah, I think so. IP, it's harder to be a private IP physician, first of all, because you have to be in a very large cancer center, somewhere you have a lot of collaboration with people. But I do find teaching very fun. I like the fact that you go and learn something, and then you get to give back, right? And I get to do what I like to do. And the fellows are usually pretty pleasant, usually eager to learn. So it kind of motivates you to teach as well, right? They're not like not interested. Procedures are pretty cool. Most people like procedures. That's why they went into pulm career. So it's never like someone just bored of doing bronchoscopy. So they're always excited and get to we do cool stuff, I feel. So I love it when they get engaged too. So that kind of back and forth is so nice. And when you have people like nice fellows who are engaged, you want to teach them more. You want to do research with them. You want to help them succeed and get what they want to do. So I find that interaction great. It's very social, which I really enjoy.
Yeah. What's the procedure that you're just like, oh, like there's got to be one. I have one as a pulmonologist.
I want to hear yours right now first.
Mine is thoracentesis for sure.
Oh, really?
For sure.
I feel like it's starting to become EBUS.
Really?
'Cause I do so many EBUSs, I love the navigation aspect. Like the navigation will take me 20, 30 minutes, very satisfying. It's like a puzzle. and then I got to do the EBUS, right? And I know you have to stage them. It's right for the patient. It just takes extra time.
Yeah.
But now we have good fellows. Just give them the scope, and they get to do the EBUS, and they love it. They're still they're still interested in doing it. But at this point, maybe I've done, I don't know, 500, 1,000. I have no idea how many I've done, but it just gets a little bit tedious sometimes.
Actually, that's something I wanted to ask you about is, do you think we'll ever get to the point where we can do robotic EBUSs? Because right now we don't do that.
Right. And so I think some of the companies are trying to figure out a way to do that. I don't know how much better you can get because we're pretty good. We have a 96% diagnostic, accuracy or something like that. But I think it could happen. The cool thing would be, I always joke about this, is I wish I could be my boxers at home doing a procedure.
with a VR
That's
headset?
right. Yeah.
We're probably not too far from
I
that.
don't think so. They've been doing Da Vinci's, like robotic surgery, like on a grape and a banana over across the Atlantic or something. I don't know how we can't do it at home. I always joke about that. That'd be hilarious.
I would. That would be amazing for sure. For sure. Although that does make me a little nervous because if my iPhone can spaz
Oh, absolutely.
it can do a little something like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is very nerve-wracking, but it'd be really fun to do.
It would be a lot of fun. Speaking of which, the new Vision Pro, whatever the Apple version of the virtual reality stuff, that's coming out. So it's supposed to be like augmented reality. So I imagine that's what that's going to be like. That's probably the next stage of navigation.
I've always been like, that stuff made me dizzy. Like all that, when you look through it, like those roller coaster things and things like that. I was like never like got into it. I don't know.
I bet that's where navigation.
Maybe it's gotten
next.
better. Like that's about 10 years ago. I'm sure it's gotten better. It doesn't make you as dizzy. I haven't tried it recently.
I haven't tried it either. I don't think I've ever tried any of the virtual or augmented reality stuff, other than what I've seen on demos when somebody else is using it or anything like that. So I wanted to ask you about your brothers.
Yeah.
It's really cool to me that you're both obviously physicians and you're both obviously like, specialized physicians. Because is he interventional or he's just straight up?
He's general cardiology.
General cardiology.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see, is there an element of competitiveness between the two?
A little bit. I think we both go different routes, but I do find, I saw that joke where like, the pulmonologist blames the heart and the cardiologist blames the lungs. Because he'll text me pictures and be like, he'll text me like a PFT and say, continue amiodarone, ? And I'm like, I don't know how to answer that question because there's so many other factors at play. Do they still need amiodarone? Like, is this fibrosis from other things? I don't know. Is it a low DLCO? I don't know. Give me a CAT scan, things like that. But he's great. He's a great resource because when I'm in the ICU and I'm like, hey, I'm not sure if our cardiology colleagues are doing the right thing or what is the next step? What should I be doing? He can chime in and say, no, this is the right thing. They're doing things, guidelines, in the right fashion. That kind of stuff. So it's really nice. Or like I have a guy with, I think he should get a cath. And our colleagues think that, they don't need a cath. I'll consult him. He's like, no, I would not cath this guy because of this, and this. It helps me kind of, understand understand the cardiology aspect better too, which is really a great resource.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And you said your dad he's a
public health professor at Tulane. Yeah.
And mom's
a nutritionist by trade, but she stopped working maybe 10 or 15 years ago.
I don't know why I always thought you had a sister, but obviously that's not the case.
That's kind of why I love having my girls because I never had a sister, just me and my brother. So just having that,
and your kids are the first grandkids, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Super exciting.
That's awesome.
So you have one brother, one sister?
No. Four
brothers.
Am I saying that right? Three brothers.
I'm asking you, man.
Three brothers and one sister.
So it's 5 of y'all.
5 of us.
Okay.
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. I always thought you were like the baby or something.
No, I'm the oldest.
Huh.
I'm the oldest. But we're all like, you never got to meet any of my brothers?
I think I met your brother. He came for graduation or something.
Yeah. So I'm the oldest, but we're all like 1 year behind each other. We're all back to back to back, except my sister. My sister came she was 5 years after the youngest.
Gotcha. So it's 4 brothers and then 5 years and then a sister.
Yeah, because my sister's 10 years from me. But yeah, I'm the oldest boy. But if you see all of us together, you wouldn't be able to discern that I am because we're all about the same height.
Mm-hmm.
We're all,
and you're like 1 or 2 years apart, so it's very challenging to see who's older, right?
Yeah. And in behavior, because I would make the case that I've never, because I have no recollection of my life without my brothers.
True.
I have no. As the oldest, I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I have no idea of what life was without any of them. So I don't even remember my youngest brother Zubi being born. I have no memory of that.
Right.
So I've always had them. I think the only time when I was truly aware that I was the oldest was when I stepped away for boarding school. And so at that time, because they were my friends.
Right,
My brothers
right.
were my friends.
Of course.
And so, when I stepped away from boarding school, I started getting my own friends.
Yeah.
And I'd come back and be like, man, y'all are kids. Like,
Yeah.
I can't be hanging out with y'all, lame-os. So that was the only time I became aware of it. And then once time passed and we all kind of caught up with each other again, because it's that teenage year when I start
You
pulling
want to be
away.
Independent. Yeah, absolutely.
And then I think once I came to college, and they actually also went through kind of the same program I did, except they went to high school here. So they went to Massachusetts. All of them, except the youngest, went to Massachusetts. So that experience, they got really close, and I was the one that was further away. And then they all came to Nichols.
Yeah.
And we all got together again. And it's kind of been like that since. But yeah, I'm the oldest. I think I don't think of myself in that kind of hierarchy, except in like moments of big decisions or something like that.
I see. So they look to you.
Yeah.
For those kind of decisions. That's good.
So like they'll defer to me for certain things, but I don't have I don't have an older brother card that I feel like I need to pull.
Right.
The only times I've ever had to do that was, when I was feeling myself back in the day.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You gotta show him who's boss.
Do you feel the same way with
Yeah, so when we grew up, we'd always play together. We were very close. And in high school, we kind of drifted apart a little bit. I went to college, and he stayed in high school. Then I went abroad, and he stayed in college in the United States. Right, he finished Tulane, did biomedical engineering, did the traditional route.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, we kind of reconnected, I guess, because I was far away for some time. And now we're very close. We talk
and y'all
all the
lived
time.
together for a while.
For a bit, yeah. Just we kind of lived together in the same house for a while. Then after I got married, he kind of moved. We all kind of separated, of course. But yeah, it was great. We still talk pretty frequently.
And we actually have a really cool story with your brother, other than the fact that I met him at Chabert, is that my neighbor.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
My neighbor is
his sister-in-law. Yeah, his sister-in-law.
Yeah.
Is your neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, her husband.
So it's because I see him every once in a while. I see him like once every 6 to 8 weeks or something like that. I see his car.
Yeah.
We glance at each other every once in a while. The nod.
Of course, yeah.
So what's
I
up,
see
man?
you.
Yeah, I see you. What's up, man? How you doing? Or random birthday parties. Like I run into my birthday parties in full costume. I'm like, yo, is that you? That's awesome.
No, it's like it's a big city, but it's also like a small city, right? You kind of end up knowing everybody, and it's kind of cool. And like everyone's kind of very chill and laid back down here, which is very nice.
Yeah, big city vibe, but very much a village. New Orleans is. And it's true. And actually, there's one of the reasons I purposefully work away from, or I live away from where I work. So I work about an hour away.
Right.
From here is so that I can remove myself from my occupation.
Yeah, you can disconnect a little bit.
A little bit. So I really enjoy that. And I think that's definitely one. I think everywhere I've ever been, even except for Tulane. Because I live right down the street from Tulane.
Right.
But everywhere I've ever been, I try to live at least 20, 25 minutes away from where I work. So I get to disconnect.
Yeah, that I didn't really realize that that'd be an issue until like sometimes people are like, oh, my friend of a friend is your patient or something like that. And you're like, oh, it's just a weird, kind of like connection to have. Because it's HIPAA and I don't want to say like, no, I don't know them. But they're like, no, they said they know you. They've already given that information away. Or when like a patient randomly friends you on Facebook. I haven't used Facebook and I have an account somewhere, but I haven't used it in like 5 years or something. And then I log on accidentally. I'm like, oh, that's my patient. What's going on? Why would I? Which is interesting,
Yeah, that's definitely one of my like fears is like, how do I maintain? Because I'm friendly in the patient encounter anyway. Like so,
and you're friendly out of inpatient encounters.
That's true. I try to be friendly outside, but certainly in the patient encounter. So like. It's not like I'm treating them like some sort of adversary in any way.
Right.
But, I'm not exactly reaching for us to be communicating all the time. I have very few patients that actually do have like relationship where they mess, but they tend to be the patients actually require that kind of attention. Like,
right.
if you're not feeling well, and like call me, text me, that kind of thing.
It's also interesting, like relationship, I guess, because you're kind of like advising them, right?
Yeah.
When you're a physician to a patient, and then when you're in a different scenario, it just changes everything. It's also a little awkward every single time, right? Because they don't want to see you like, they want to see you as a physician, kind of, they don't want to see you like doing something dumb, running around, right? Or like,
which you're entitled to.
Of course, absolutely. I'm dumb most of the time.
Outside of work.
Of course.
Outside of work. Do you still get to have that relationship as a procedure? It's like, because your patients are sleeping. Like,
so it's because I do some clinic. I have a couple of half days of clinic, and I do feel like I get these nice relationships where a patient comes in who's a difficult, challenging patient from an outside hospital, and I see him just for the procedures and how things are going. And I've developed a lot of patients who I think I personally feel like I've helped them have symptomatic benefit and breathe easier, I guess, for the next 1 or 2 years. And eventually, if their disease, they do succumb to their disease, I feel like I still have a relationship to that family, because we've interacted so many times, and there've been challenging cases that I've grown, and thankfully it went well for the patient, but I've also just had challenges in just learning how to adapt with different things that come from the patient's disease process. As their disease gets worse, or things happen, they get more infections, or their tumor continues to grow, how I've adapted and worked with that family to give them at least peace of mind if it's something I can't do anymore. And also, one of the challenging things, I guess, learning as an attending was knowing when to say, I don't think I can offer anything more for this case. I don't want to ever do something where I think it's zero benefit. I'm doing it just to appease the family, even though I know there's no benefit.
Yeah.
And that's always the hardest decision. I try to say, listen, we're doing something. Eventually, this is going to progress without chemotherapy or radiation or treatment. I can only fight this, hold this dam up as long as, for only for so long,
How do you navigate that? Like because medicine, I think, on a very superficial way, it's an action field, right? So you have targets. Like, something comes up, there's something to do for it.
Right.
How do you navigate through that and buffer yourself from always having to do something, especially when, I think, as I've matured as an attending, and I'm not there yet, but I'm certainly much more appreciative of nothing is something. Doing nothing is doing something.
No, absolutely.
How have you been able to navigate that, especially for you, where it's in the name, intervention?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I found just difficult, I guess I didn't expect to happen. I'm not a surgeon. I'm not a radiation oncologist. I can't give definitive, for the most part. Some things I can treat very well, but I can't say, okay, I'm going to cure your cancer or something like that, right? Sometimes the patients come expecting more from me. I'm like, I can make you breathe easier. Well, like, well, are you just going to take all the tumor out? I'm like, well, I can't really do that, nor would it benefit if I did spend extra time doing that.
Right.
So that was a challenge, I think, just set expectations, which I found very important in my clinic. Listen, if I put valves in the patient, you're not going to be doing backflips or running marathons. You'll be able to walk 10% better or walk to the bathroom and have a little bit more quality of life. But I'm not curing your COPD, for example.
One of my things that I started to implement in my own clinic is certainly having that conversation about, like, what are your goals here, right? So
that's great.
And upfront. So, we can do it. An easy example for me would be smoking, right? If someone continues to smoke and they come into the clinic and they're like, I'm short of breath. I'm like, well, look, we can only really do so much if you continue to smoke.
Right.
And even what we're doing it's not enough to kind of hold back what smoking is contributing to your symptoms. So setting expectations, I like that. Setting expectations in clinic is definitely something that I think I've also learned as I've I guess matured as an attending. Where do you see yourself in a few years? So I like asking this question because I like asking it in 3 parts.
Okay, go hit me. Go.
Where do you see yourself in 1 year?
Okay.
In 5 years and in 10 years?
All right. So in 1 year, professionally, I hope that we just recently moved to East Jefferson. Like they kind of picked up all of our stuff and plopped it down at East Jefferson. They've been very supportive, actually. They built us our own dedicated interventional pulmonology suite that I'm very excited about. Not many people get. So I've been very fortunate that people believe in me and invested in me. I hope that I can prove myself in that next year, because things are kind of, as transitions go, they start off a little slow and rocky. So I hope in 1 year I'll be rocking and rolling, and everyone will understand how good of a program we have. And I find a lot of passion and pride in the program that I grow. You know, I work very hard to grow that program and to kind of give the best care I can. So I hope professionally I am just continuing to grow. And I hope in another 5 years, maybe we can hire another person, and we can really maybe open up a fellowship program, like an interventional pulmonology fellowship program, to continue to give back and can train the next level of people. But I really want to make a really good program rather than just starting it early. I want to make sure that I can give the best training I can possibly give before getting that first fellow in.
Right.
You know, and hopefully in 5 years we'll have, my girls will be older, and I can kind of do more cool stuff with them and take trips with them and things like that, which would be really nice.
Would you what would be the first place that you're excited to take your girls to?
I want to just take them outside the country and just let them experience stuff, but I want them also to be old enough to experience it and to understand it.
To make it meaningful, for it to be meaningful.
Yeah. If I take her now, she's 2 years old.
Yeah, she doesn't
Wherever
care.
you put her, doesn't matter. There's a balloon nearby, she'll be happy. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. A balloon in Turkey is the same as a balloon
That's right.
down the bayou.
That's right.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care. Have you gone back to Jordan?
Since I got
left?
married. No, since 2013. It's been a bit. I mean, again, because I think it's more that I call here home.
Right.
So I don't have that. I want to see my family, of course, my relatives, etc., my aunts and uncles and everything. But it's been busy and tough, and with kids, it becomes a little more challenging.
And of course, with COVID, that automatically took away 2, 3, 4 years.
No, absolutely right. Because it was so hard, I'm sure, for you and me during COVID, being in the ICU and everything, and then the travel, the restrictions and everything made it much more challenging and much more difficult, right?
Yeah.
And I think the travel industry is still reeling from that, so it's even harder to travel.
Yeah. Is there a part of that that aspect of who you are? So in terms of culture, ethnicity, that you're hoping to kind of continue with your kids?
I would love to. I think, we're in such a good melting pot space where people can. I want my girls to really understand the good things. The goal would be to get the good things from Middle Eastern culture and hopefully take away the bad things and get the good things from American culture while also taking away the bad things. That'd be the best case scenario, right? And I hope we can try to convey that as best we can. But in the end, they're their own individuals. They're going to do what they want to do. They're going to gravitate to whichever culture they're going to gravitate to more. Right. So I just hope they come out okay. That's pretty much it. I don't have to worry too much about them. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I was reading a book about like different stages of parenting.
Okay.
And I hope I'm doing this right. So basically, there are 4 stages to parenting. So 0 to 5, I want to say 5 to 13, 13 to 18, and then 18 onwards.
Okay.
So 0 to 5 is like you're controlling, so you're setting expectations, you're setting worldview, you're much more of a dictator. So 0 to 5.
Yeah. I can see that.
You're basically, you have no idea what's going on. You don't know what to expect of this world. I will set the worldview. Then 5 to 13, you're more of a coach.
Okay.
So you're slowly peeling back. You're more of a coach. So you're on the sidelines. You're watching them. They're the ones out there. They're slowly figuring themselves out.
Trial and error and learning. Stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
But still with your guidance.
Right.
And then that's 5 to 13.
Yeah.
13 to 18 is another stage that I can't remember right now, but it's another stage away from coaching.
Right.
And then 18 onwards, you're a friend.
Yeah.
Right. And I hope to have my kids be my friends one day.
No, that'd be amazing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be awesome. And one of I forget the name of the person, but their point was basically there are these stages, but you shouldn't mix up those stages. So you shouldn't be a friend in the coaching stage.
Dude,
you shouldn't,
deep, man.
I know. That's what we're here. That's what we do here. That's what we do here on the on the Last Zebra. We go deep. But anyway, not to mix up those stages. So don't be a friend.
No, it's clever, man.
When
I like
need
that.
to be when you need to be a coach. Don't be a coach when you need to be a friend.
Yeah.
So I do hope that once my kids, because once they go off to college, I mean, that's it, right? You just hope that in the 18
they could never come back. Yeah.
yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, you hope that in the 18 years that you've had them,
Because it'd be so cool. Like it's like, every week or so we have dinner with my parents. My brother comes over. We all kind of eat, at my dad's house, and we just kind of just chill. We don't do nothing. We just hang out. I would love to have that hopefully with my family in the future. If they're 20, 25, 30, 35, I'm still alive, God willing. You just come over to my house and I could maybe smoke something if I'm still doing that or whatever the new thing is in 30 years.
I know.
And just kind of hang out, with their kids and stuff. It's going to be great.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm definitely hoping. I think at the end of the day is that my kids one day feel comfortable being around me in such a way that we can be friends, because it's not always easy. Like to have that relationship with your parents.
No, absolutely.
I think my parents and I are now there that we can have like much more nuanced conversations that would cast you an evil eye when you were younger. There are things I can say now that I've been slapped for when I was younger.
Yeah, no, I know.
You know what I'm saying? It's much better tolerated now, for sure. Well, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, man, I like this. It's nice too. It's fun to do.
I know. We should definitely. I try to like have. I'm going to try and have like follow-up episodes.
Yeah. Where are they now?
I know. Where are they now? Yeah. We'll have like a year follow-up just to see what's new.
It's like those like clickbait articles, like remember them now? Well, if I click to find out where they are now 5 years later, it's like still pretty much the same.
Doing the same.
Still here.
Nothing has changed. I'm exactly the same.
That's right.
Well, I hope we keep growing, keep changing. Man. And I'm looking forward to what the future holds for you and
good,
IP.
Man. Yeah, man, it'd be good. Man. It'd be good.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I'm really happy. It was cool to do this, man. I feel, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fun.
Yeah, man. All right.
Good deal.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of The Last Zebra. We have new episodes every Monday morning wherever you listen to your podcasts. And on Tuesday mornings, we have the YouTube videos available. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and engage. And looking forward to seeing you guys on the next one.